Georgia, a 3.5-point underdog going to Texas. The over-under in that game, 55.5. We're talking Georgia. It only makes sense, Dame, to start in the kennel. Who's your Dame's dogs for this week?
Well, this week, starting the show off for my Dame's dogs, I want to focus on UGA secondary, and not because they've been playing at a dog level, but because obviously going against Quinn Ewers and this amazing Texas passing offense, they're going to need to be dogs if Georgia wants to have a chance. And I want to go back to the game against Mississippi State for Georgia. And the biggest concern for me as to why they're not playing so well right now is they're getting really confused by like motions, eye candy. I mean, when receivers go in motion and go from one side of the formation to the other, it seems like the communication just starts to break down immensely. And the next thing you know, you've got guys just running down the middle of the field wide open, running down the sideline wide open. And to me, this isn't characteristic of a Kirby Smart secondary or a Kirby Smart defense. I mean, Kirby Smart being the great defensive coach that he is, he helped coach with defensive backs at Alabama when he was with Nick Saban. So, this would be something that I would expect them to excel at. And I mean, they've got the bodies, they've got the talent. I just don't think that communication piece and understanding and digesting what the offense is doing that's not their strong suit right now. That's what's causing them to struggle. And like I said, Quinn Ewers and the marching Longhorns are coming into town. And what are they going to do? They're going to motion guys. They're going to send receivers across the formation. They're going to send vertical route patterns down the field. And they're going to try to get behind this Georgia defense, this Georgia secondary, and confuse them with a lot of eye candy. So if Georgia wants to win this game, if they want to have any chance to stay in this game, they've got to stop Quinn Ewers in this offense. And the secondary has got to step up. They've got to communicate better. They've got to have better eye discipline. And they've got to be able to not let things get behind them. You've got a great front seven. You've got a great defensive line. You got linebackers that can run sideline to sideline. We saw that in the second half against Alabama. So keep everything in front of you. Let your front seven kind of corral the inside, like the first two levels of the defense. And then just like I said, don't let anything get behind you. Don't give up the big plays. And I think if they do that, I think like player for player, talent for talent, they can match up with these receivers, but it's all gonna come down to their eye control, their communication, and their defense, or not defense, their discipline in the secondary for them to stand a chance in this game.
Chris, somehow you've never been to Austin for a game. Do I have this correct?
That is correct.
That seems hard to believe. You live in Dallas for like as long as
I live in Dallas, but Sam Khan is down there, covers Texas a lot for us. Max Olson was with us for a while. Lived in Austin for a bit. So it's my first opportunity, really looking forward to it. Going to make a long drive down on Saturday. Going to stay up in Waco on the way back.
Go to Round Rock Donuts, Chris. Do it.
Okay. I have been to Austin before. I just haven't been there for a game. And by the way, this is F1 weekend as well in Austin. Like every hotel is like $1,000. It is insane. I'm staying in Waco on the drive back to Dallas after this game because it's going to be a late one. But when I look at this game, I'm in the same spot as Damien because Georgia's secondary is 68th in the country in yards per pass allowed. They were 6th last year, and they're usually in the top 5. So that is showing up in the numbers. And the other part is Quinn Ewers. I was at Red River, Texas, Oklahoma, and Quinn was not great, but he didn't need to be because Oklahoma can't move the ball. He throws an interception on his first throw. He missed some guys later on. He was running into pressure sometimes with the way Oklahoma was using that front. And so can he shake off the rust? Is that oblique injury still bothering him? Because Texas didn't need to do much in the second half. They just basically sat on that lead. That's not going to cut it against Georgia. So how healthy is Quinn Ewers, and can he attack a Georgia secondary that has been more prone to big plays than it has in a very long time?
Chris, you said that it was interesting. Have we seen Quinn be Superman in any game besides Bama last year?
I think the Michigan game this year, he was. He was really, really on point in that
I agree with Chris. Don't make that face, David.
To some degree, but also, what did you have to do to win that game? Did they win that game because of him? I covered that Sugar Bowl, and he was good, but it's tough to see how good he was when I'm serious. I was talking to some people at this week, actually. The Penix performance in that game was like the best quarterback performance I think I've literally ever seen, maybe in college ever, a single game. Right. So I'm intrigued to see it. I think he has to be Superman in this game for them to win this. He's going to have to make some plays. We haven't seen him make a ton, and there's going to be a pressure on him because I think they are going to have to score. And part of that is, myself and Sam Khan we did Coaching Confidential this week and talked to some coaches, and one of the things that we heard was, there's this idea because Texas is the last undefeated team because everybody else, we've seen flaws. There's this idea like, oh, Texas is like clearly the best team and can't really be gotten. They can be gotten, and they can be gotten downfield. You can hit some shots on this team. They haven't played teams that have been able to do it consistently enough and hold up.
Nope.
Like Michigan was probably the best team that they've played. They're not going to do it. Oklahoma, no shot to do it with no receivers. It's going to be an interesting test. They're going to play teams with better weapons than Georgia. But a lot of the coaches mentioned that you can hit some shots downfield on this team, but you got to protect to be able to do it, and that can be a little bit of a challenge. I don't know how much they will try. Dame, we've talked about this all year, like Sark's creativity and being able to cook that stuff up, and maybe you fake some orbit motion and you freeze the linebackers and you say, hey. We're going to flip it out there, and then you flip it out there once in the first half, you fake it in the second half, and then hit something deep on the backside in the second half to package that in. I don't know, but I do think that Georgia has to be aggressive in the same way that they were against Alabama to win this game, and we might have to see Quinn put up 30 to win this game.
Everybody knows the weakness of this Texas defense is the secondary. It's where they've had the most issues. They just, like you said, haven't been tested. We saw Georgia throw a lot of deep shots on Alabama. Eventually, they started hitting because that's Alabama's weakness too. So, yeah, I would expect that. I think Texas is going to have to put up some points in this game. And to your point about the pressure, Texas had a 50% pressure rate against Oklahoma. Michael Hawkins had no shot back there.
That is not a winning formula.
No, part of that's Oklahoma's offensive line's not great, but part of that's Texas doing a really good job up front.
Well, offensively in this game, do you guys think Texas takes a page out of Alabama's book and tries to come out and do things that they haven't necessarily seen before from Texas, or kind of like give them some different looks? Or do you guys see them just kind of playing their style of football and being Texas brand of football versus Georgia's brand of football, and we're going to see who's better?
I think nothing dramatic, but I think I'm interested to see what the opening script is from Sark.
Right.
That will be really, really interesting.
Because he's so creative.
Yeah. And this Georgia team is going to be, pretty fired up. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe you try to use some aggression against them. I feel like if you're Georgia in this game, you're going to have such an emphasis on we got to get to the quarterback. We got to get to the quarterback. Can you use that against them? Can you hit them with a screen on the tunnel screen on the first play when when your defensive line is keyed up on like, we're going to make it a long day for Quinn. I don't know. We'll see. I'll be really interested. I think for me, I guess I'm going to go with Texas here. I think, Chris, I rip on Texas fans probably more than I should because the environment is not great a lot of the time. But when it's great, it is. When Texas gets up, it gets up, and they are going to be up for this one. It's going to be a tough environment. I think I'm going to go with the Horns here and lay the 3.5. I like Georgia, but this is just a tough spot for them, and I think they've. I guess they probably have the better quarterback in this game. It's close, but I think we see Quinn make enough plays here to win them this game, and they hold up in the line of scrimmage. Dame, who you like here?
I like Texas, but I'm like you. I'm not so sure, and I'm like, but I think what you said is true. I think the position that Georgia's in, obviously losing to Alabama, and with the way the 12-team playoff system goes, you're trying to get an SEC championship. Really, every week is a playoff game, and I don't know if this is the team that you want to be playing against on the road whenever you're in a spot like this. So yeah. I'm going to go with Texas. I personally think that they have the better quarterback overall, maybe not what we saw last week, but I think that if he's healthy, if he had a week to, maybe last week was just getting him back up to speed. And if he gets back up to, what Quinn Ewers can be, I think he is the better quarterback. I think Texas wins.
So, Ubben, how does DKR Stadium at its best compared to Autzen Stadium? You got a lot of hate from Oregon fans for that take.
At its best, I think they're probably similar. I think my biggest issue with Texas is because there are so many Texas fans that don't have deep ties to the university. I mean, Chris, you live in Dallas. You know this. There's no such thing as a casual A&M fan. They're all insane about A&M.
Yes.
There's like almost only casual Texas fans. There's a lot to do in Austin. So like when they're playing Louisiana Monroe or they're playing, whatever, a team they don't care about, it's not a great environment. They don't pack it out all the time. But when it's up, it's up. And I think it can be really, really scary. And that will be the case for Georgia this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go Texas as well. I have felt for a while this is probably the best team in the country. But again, Quinn Ewers has to be better. He has to be feeling better. So that's what it's going to come down to. This Georgia team has more flaws than we've seen in a Georgia team in quite a while.